Here it is. Update time. You might notice something's a little wacky with this layout. I've been playing around with CSS a little bit. All of these are browser sources. That is, I okay, well, you knew the chat room was a browser source. It had to be. It couldn't work any other way. But then I looked at the CSS parchment and began wondering if I could give it its own separate CSS parchment outside of OBS, but figured that would be a little too painful, too arduous to pull off. But then I thought to myself, well, I still got all this empty space and I can't replicate what's being shown, what was shown in the 2012-2013 Twitch pages. So I thought of something else. If I'm going to distribute this some way, somehow, like possibly without anyone knowing I was involved, because, well, can't explain that yet, it's gotta be it's gotta be usable for them. I hadn't figured out how yet, but I did manage to create separate local web pages, i.e. notepads stored as .html files, with little more than just HTML body and style inside. And then I downloaded some really old software that was still usable for me. To my utter surprise, and with no visible vulnerabilities that have compromised my system yet that I could notice, called Composer. It used to be Envu Eddy. Let me try it again. It used to be Envu Editor. It became Composer, but it stopped getting updates in 2013 itself, mainly because of some weird debacle between who knows what. But the creator, the last person to update it, decided to make their own company and have since created software based on this with the specific purpose, but with more updates, called Blue Griffin. I took one look and said, yeah, the free version will work, but the screenshots tell me it's got way too much stuff for me to use. It's got way too much stuff for me to narrow down, so I'd have to work my way around it. Meanwhile, back in the Composer aisle, using nearly 10-year-old software, I opened up each of the web pages in separate tabs, one at a time, and then started reading up on CSS shenanigans from W3 schools. Yeah, the cough is still a thing. Working on it, okay? I read up on... I looked back at how I managed to make the chat room look. Did the same thing for two of the web pages. So they're the ones in front of the pictures, the mega symbol icons. And now they have scroll modifiers, scroll effects directly through OBS. So alone they don't scroll, but through OBS they do. The tables thing was really tough to pull off because it was HTML, not CSS, so it involved writing a lot of code. I tried, I dug around as much as I could, looking around, looking for a way to make it happen in CSS so I wouldn't have to type up HTML. Why? Because the HTML to do this is way too messy. So I got that sorted out. Now, there are two other web pages I need to focus on, mainly the ones for the pictures. I did the simplest thing and started looking around for ways to put the images in there. It could also only be done through HTML, to my utter frustration. Except apparently in one case. It's really weird how that works. So we've got that going. We've got we've got 2 pages with table HTMLs with HTML tables, one going vertical as seen on the left-hand side, one going horizontal as seen on the bottom. Behind that, we've got picture backgrounds. It's a test. It's got transparency. The images are transparent. And I can edit transparency through CSS. Oh yeah, I can. But only if I use RGBA as an element. This will all be some random language to you. All that matters is I can replace these with whatever I want. They could be animated GIFs. They could even be movie files. So it does look messy. It admittedly looks really messy. I mean, really, really messy. But rest assured, I'm working on it. However, I like to change focus for a moment and point you to the webcam, or rather, what it's looking at. These pictures here, these drawings, some of them are unfinished very clearly, but they all have one thing in common. I drew them. Without looking at anything. You heard me right. I drew all of these. Every single one of these. Without looking at a reference. I did all of these without a reference. The exception on this page is the table and the lamp. Everything else, no cheating. This entire page here. Also did it without cheating. So you know it's not just limited to parametric objects. I'll admit the clouds are a little bit in the need of work. Need a little bit of work here. But it turns out it's because the outer shape is all that matters. The lines on the inside don't. The only thing the lines on the inside tell me are where the shading goes, depending on the direction of the light. And you have this, which, you know, the same thing. I looked at a reference for this one, but I tried to come up with my own design. So don't hold a knife up to me just yet. And then you have this. You might have noticed this from the last page, where there were lines inside the hands. I couldn't find it, but I remember running into a tutorial that I previously knocked off, one that suggested using lines to draw the hands. I didn't think it any helpful before I tried it just now, and that was last month or so that I ran into it. But I think I need to prove that I'm not messing around. Let's draw a hand right here. Let's draw two of them, actually. First, I'm going to try this again. Okay, the index finger is going to be over here. So, second largest, first largest, third largest, fourth largest, and then the thumb over here. But let's not make the same mistake I made before. This time, the outer lines are going to be closer to the inner lines because, as depicted, if I draw it too far away, the fingers are going to look very, very weird. I thought about that at work today. What if I draw the lines a little closer? Hmm, getting there. But there's just one problem. The fingers need to be spread out. So let's try it again. Second largest. I don't know. Let's try it again. First largest. Third largest. And then fourth largest right over here. And then the thumb. And now we draw. Width of the arm. Go up to the finger and draw around it. Trying not to fat finger these like I did the last few. Still needs work, but it's not what it was before. And to let you see what it looks like without the lines, let's erase them from the inside. I should fix that right now. So here I'm going to hold it up, and then I'm going to do this. With the lines and without. That's the idea. I'll just clean it up when I get to the part where I put it in Blender on. Okay, let's try another pose. Let's try the hand pose. If I had to think, maybe a thumbs up would do the trick. So draw the arm from this side. Got a thumb right here. And now with the 4 fingers. Oh boy, that's a tough one, isn't it? First largest, second largest, third largest, and fourth largest right over here. Let's see how this looks. Not looking too bad so far. Bear with me, I'm getting there. Now, by the looks of things, this looks just like a regular hand. The hand looks open, doesn't it? We can fix that right now. We can in fact fix that by doing the simplest thing on earth. Closing the fingers. And maybe shortening this one, actually. Yeah, that's better. There we go. We got a thumbs up. Minus the lines inside. And at that point, we could just add the nails if we wanted to. Now, I still gotta prove I'm not lying. Which means we're gonna have to draw a parametric object. I've already proven I can draw organic objects. Let me see if I can think of a parametric object I'd like to draw. Something that isn't directly in front of me right now. Last time it was a washing machine. So what's it going to be this time? Something that isn't complex. A calculator. I'm purposely drawing the lines larger than they need to be so I can cut them off later. And I know everything's looking really square-edged, sharp-edged right now. That can be fixed too. Let's give this more room so I can choose where to cut it off. Ouch, by the way. Okay, now for the split inside of it. But now we need buttons. Let's start making some. I can just make a few buttons here, and I'll just duplicate the rest like crazy in Blender. Because laziness is a thing, and it's enabled. A 4-button calculator. We want some of these edges to be smooth, don't we? Let's start with these edges over here. And that means we do the simplest thing. Which I thought of before. We make lines. We make curved lines inside. So we're going to choose a curved line like this over on this edge, not the fanciest, and a curved line over here on this edge. Again, not the fanciest. And now we have excess lines we need to cut out of this. We can do the same for the top of the calculator too. Curved lines here, 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 and here. So now we need to get rid of those edges here, those outer edges. And there you have it. The calculator is a little easier on the eyes now. You're right. Let's give this some depth from the right-hand side. Define how deep the object is, and just follow it along. Because it can only be seen from one side, that means the vanishing point needs to be behind this left-hand edge. So there it goes, and I need to erase that mistake I made right there. We draw that line. Give these some depth too. There we go. The calculator now has depth from the right-hand side and above.